Get ready for Benjamin Knight Hughes live. Ben, it's been a while. How are you?
Has been a minute or two, Mr. Liam. Good to see you.
Good to
Looking
see
handsome
you.
as always.
Thank you. Well, I like the
You like the
you
new
look
look?
it looks very
I've been here.
scholarly. You're like a professor.
I need some patches. I don't have patches, but other than that,
Amen.
yes, I know what you mean. So today I thought we'd talk about my favorite subject, my favorite part of the body, my favorite organ, which is the skin. You know, I like to talk about all the different parts of the body, but I really focus on the skin. For most of my career, I've been working with the skin, and I know more about the skin than I do any other organ. And we all want beautiful skin. And given the amount of skincare companies that are out there and the number of skincare products that are out there and the amount of money we all spend on our skin, it would seem like we're not all that satisfied with how our skin appears. And I know why.
You have the answer.
I have the answer, because I'm the answer man. We are not addressing the true cause of skin problems. We're going to talk today about dry skin specifically, and in coming programs, we'll talk about other skin issues, but we're not addressing the real cause, which is internal. You know, we give lip service to the fact that the skin is the body's largest
organ.
Even you, Liam, know this. If you ask anybody on the street, if you ask any average person on the street, they'll tell you, oh, yeah, the skin is the body's largest organ, but we don't really treat it like an organ. And you know why? It's because when you look at the skin, it doesn't look like an organ. Right? When you think of an organ, you think of blood and gooiness and throbbiness and movement. You don't want to see an organ. You don't want to see your heart, right? You don't want to see your liver. You don't want to see your intestine. You don't want to see your lungs. You don't want to see your spleen. You don't want to see your organ. But we all look at our skin. We all see our skin. We see each other's skin. But it doesn't have that organ-like appearance. And that's the real problem. You see, we give lip service to the fact that the skin's the body's largest organ, but we don't really think of it like an organ because it's covered with a surface, and its organ-like nature is underneath. And if you ever got a burn or a trauma or some kind of wound and you actually did see the organ-like nature of the skin, you would be just as repulsed, or maybe not just as repulsed, but certainly you would be repulsed as if you saw an internal organ. The blood and the goo and the connective tissue and the fat and all the stuff that gives the skin its organ-like nature, which is hidden underneath. If all of a sudden it were to appear because you got a trauma, you would be not very pleased, just like if you saw an internal organ. So we don't tend to treat the skin like an organ. We all know that if we want to have a healthy inside, healthy heart, healthy liver, healthy lungs, healthy spleen, healthy intestine, we got to take care of our nutritional needs. We got to address metabolic issues, biochemistry issues. But with the skin, we've been deluded, encouraged to believe that you just smear something on, but it doesn't work. And no matter how many different products you smear on your skin, or how many different procedures you have done to your skin, or how many different companies you use, or brands that you use on your skin, it doesn't seem to help. And the definition of insanity, as we all know, is
doing the same thing over and over again, looking for a different
results. What I've discovered as a pharmacist who specializes in the inside of the body, but yet focuses on the skin, is that you got to work on the inside of the body. That's what we're going to talk about here today. So pop up the first slide here. Now, you know, we always go to the triangle of disease whenever we have health challenges, and the skin health challenges. Specifically today, we're talking about xerosis, which is dry skin, is no different. The skin and the gut microbiome and its role in gut dermatological issues. This is from the journal Microorganisms from 2019. The relationship between the gut and skin microbiome and various dermatological diseases, including acne, psoriasis, rosacea, and eczema, is going to be discussed. They don't specifically talk about dry skin, but I can tell you that the key to addressing dry skin is in the fats, fatty vitamins, and essential fatty acids specifically. And of course, fats are absorbed in the intestine. They require a healthy liver and gallbladder and healthy microbiome, as they talk about in this article. So step number one, if you're going to deal with dry skin from the inside out, that is, if you're really going to address dry skin in a non-superficial way, you've got to work on intestinal health. No surprise. First point on the triangle of disease. We'll talk about some strategies for how you do that here in a moment. Second slide. Second point in the triangle of disease, of course, is metabolic syndrome, dysglycemia, disturbances in blood sugar, and no surprise here, xerosis. This is from This is from www.medicaljournals.com. Cirrhosis in patients with type 2 diabetes, an Italian multi-center study. Cirrhosis is common and disabling in diabetics and often undiagnosed and undertreated by physicians. And this goes on to talk about patients who have type 2 diabetes, i.e. metabolic syndrome, and cirrhosis and what they can do about it. Slide number 3. Skin changes associated with hypothyroidism. This is from Scientific Letters. And once again, we see that skin changes, cirrhosis is associated with internal conditions, specifically hypothyroidism. Quote, skin changes associated with thyroid disease include lesions, as well as changes in function, hyperfunction, and hypofunction, and dermatological issues, including skin dryness. No surprise, because the thyroid is your main stimulus of cellular activity. Dry skin, like all health challenges, is a cellular issue. When the thyroid is functioning suboptimally, cells will be functioning suboptimally, and that, of course, will mean health challenges, including skin health challenges like cirrhosis or dry skin. So what do we do about it? Next slide. Dietary interventions. The role of dietary interventions on skin barrier function. The skin barrier is the part of the skin that keeps moisture in, keeps the skin hydrated, limits or suppresses what's called TEWL, trans-epidermal water loss. You got to have a strong barrier. Use probiotics. They talk about in this article omega-3 fatty acids, prebiotics as well. This article also talks about a very interesting amino acid called histidine, which is important for the production of one of the most important and under-recognized molecules in terms of creating a resilient and healthy skin barrier, and that's a molecule called filaggrin. Histidine is a very important component of the filaggrin molecule. Histidine is found in high-protein foods. There are also specific foods that you can use. Next slide, Liam, or next page here, Liam. Specific foods include foods that can have vitamin A in them, most especially beef liver, which is one of nature's best sources of vitamin A. If you're a vegetarian or a vegan, you can use sweet potato. Sweet potato doesn't really contain vitamin A, although it contains beta-carotene. Vitamin A is a very important vitamin for moisturization. Interestingly, there's a drug that people will take when their skin is too oily or they have acne called Accutane, which actually poisons the vitamin A system of the skin and causes tremendous dryness. So vitamin A deficiencies can do the same thing. Making sure you're getting enough vitamin A is important. If you're going to get it from foods, beef liver is real vitamin A. Beta-carotene, which is not quite vitamin A, gets converted into vitamin A, is found in sweet potatoes, as well as cantaloupe and watermelon and pumpkin and squash, orange and carrots, orange and yellow vegetables and fruits tend to have beta-carotene. Red pepper is a great source of vitamin C, as is kiwi fruit. Nature's best source of vitamin C is chili peppers. Papaya also has vitamin C in it. And vitamin C is very important for the production of moisture factors and for stabilizing skin fats as well. Almond milk can be helpful. I'm not a big believer in regular milk because of the problems associated with it, but regular milk can have vitamin D in there. Vitamin D, milk is fortified with vitamin D. Vitamin D is a really interesting vitamin for helping strengthen the skin barrier. Of course, we get vitamin D from the sun. Many people are heliophobic these days. And so interestingly, by avoiding the sun and thereby diminishing the body or the skin's ability to make vitamin D, you may actually be exacerbating skin problems, specifically dry skin, which is kind of ironic considering people stay out of the sun because they want to protect their skin from photo damage. It turns out that vitamin D, by virtue of its ability to help strengthen the skin barrier, as well as protect the skin, support the skin's immune function, what that actually means is that the sun or sun exposure, at least a small amount of sun exposure, regular sun exposure, can actually be very good for your skin. I remember I did a video last year, maybe 2 years ago, where I talked about how vitamin D is important for the skin. Now, you want to get some sun, and went on TikTok, and I got all kinds of heat from dermatologists who had been telling their patients not to go out in the sun, to avoid the sun, and they decided they needed to attack me personally. But nonetheless, I stand firm. You need the sun for a lot of reasons, but your skin needs the sun as well. And by the way, the vitamin D that's produced in your skin in response to the sun is a superior form of vitamin D than the vitamin D that you take orally. And when you get your vitamin D from the sun, there's a control factor. You can't take too much. You can't get too much because the body won't convert the cholesterol, which is what gets converted into vitamin D. When you have enough vitamin D, cholesterol will not get converted into vitamin D via solar rays. The way it works is UV radiation, specifically UVB radiation, hits cholesterol in the skin, and that cholesterol in the skin is turned into vitamin D. That reaction will happen with less efficiency once you have enough vitamin D. So it sort of provides a control factor for you. That's why I consider vitamin D from the sun, that's created from the sun, to be a superior form of vitamin D than food vitamin D or supplemental vitamin D. Sunflower seeds are a good source of vitamin E. Vitamin E is very important, and vitamin E has sun protective properties. So if you're going to go out in the sun to get your vitamin D, make sure you're using sunflower seeds or vitamin E supplements to help protect your skin from the sun. Oysters are very high in zinc. Zinc is one of the skin's, maybe actually I'll go as far as to say it is the skin's most important mineral. Selenium is also important for the skin. Sulfur is also important, but I would say zinc is probably the skin's most important mineral. Pumpkin seeds are also a source of zinc, and pumpkin seeds are also a good source of omega-3 fatty acids. And speaking of omega-3 fatty acids, don't forget your fatty fish, including yellowfin tuna, which is also not only a good source of omega-3 fats, but a good source of selenium and sulfur, both of which are important minerals for the skin. Green tea is kind of interesting. Green tea can help with photoprotection. There are molecules in green tea, antioxidant molecules in green tea that have sun protective properties. And then one of my all-time favorite plants, or herbs, I should say, for overall health, but including for the skin, is turmeric. Turmeric contains something called curcumin, which has anti-inflammatory properties and can have sun protective properties, but it's also a source of carotenes, which can get turned into vitamin A and provide their own skin health benefits. I would, if you have dry skin, I would avoid a moisturizer. Why do I say that? Moisturizers suppress the skin's ability to make its own moisture factors. Rather than a standard wax and oil emulsion, use topical fat-soluble vitamin C. Of course, if you're looking for a good source of fat-soluble vitamin C, go to my website, truthtreatments.com. Fat-soluble vitamin C in our Truth Transdermal C Serum or our Truth Transdermal C Balm will not have that same occlusive covering effect that an ordinary cream or moisturizer will have, yet it will help you with your dry skin by delivering fat-soluble vitamin C, which helps protect skin fats and actually supports the production of skin fats as well. It's always a good idea to use your Truth Transdermal C Serum or Truth Transdermal C Balm or whatever topical product, hopefully it's not an occlusive moisturizer, on your skin when it's damp, and that will help keep water in the skin, keep the skin hydrated. And then when you're showering or bathing, don't spend too much time in the water, especially if it's warm or hot water, which can have a stripping effect on the skin. Speaking of stripping, it's also a good idea to avoid soaps, which can strip skin lipids. I prefer very lipid-rich cleansers like our Truth Hyaluronic Honey Cleanser, for example, or our Truth Peppermint Salicylic Cleanser. Try to stay away from fried fats. Fried fats can disturb fat chemistry. And then also, I forgot to mention, eggs are a really good source of phospholipids, which are a very important moisturizing factor that is that's a key building block for the production of things like ceramides and other natural skin fats. Phospholipids are also found in legumes, particularly soy, but phospholipids from eggs are a great way. Eating eggs is a great way to get your phospholipids, plus you get great amino acids, which are also important for helping strengthen the skin barrier. Eggs are a true power food. Don't let anybody tell you to limit the amount of eggs that you're eating, unless you have an egg allergy, which some people do, or you have egg intolerances. And that is, unfortunately, some people can't eat eggs. But if you can handle eggs, they're a wonderful skin food. They're a wonderful anabolic or bodybuilding food. They contain all the nutrients that you need to keep your skin, as well as all the other organs of your body, healthy, particularly your nervous system, your brain, your muscles, and your skin because of the cholesterol, which again, while we're busting memes or myths, not only are eggs a valuable food, but cholesterol is a very valuable molecule for keeping the skin healthy. You can actually use topical cholesterol on your skin for sun protection, for healing, and for moisturization. I use topical cholesterol on our Truth Transdermal C Serum, as well as our Truth Omega-6 Healing Cream. Dry skin seems like it's kind of benign, sort of a superficial or a cosmetic issue, but it really isn't, in the sense that, number one, it can be very uncomfortable. Number two, it can be very unattractive if it's really severely dry. And number three, dry skin can disturb skin chemistry, which can accelerate photoaging. And while you may think that your moisturizer is addressing your dry skin, in the long run, it's actually making your dry skin worse by suppressing the production of moisture factors, which is why I always recommend topical nutrients, particularly topical C, fat-soluble vitamin C, and also topical vitamin A, used strategically to turn on the production of moisture factors. Thank you very much for posting my website up there. That's truthtreatments.com if you're interested in checking out our products. And that's it. That's our chat on dry skin. I hope that helps. Nobody should ever have dry skin. When I do my talks, I'll sometimes ask people, how many folks out there have dry skin? Everybody raises their hand. And that's despite the fact that everybody has a moisturizer in their purse or in their locker or in their car and in their medicine cabinet, in the bathroom, 2 in the office, 2 in the kitchen. You got moisturizers everywhere. People, literally, the average person has 5 or 6 or 7 moisturizers, and everybody has dry skin. Clearly, our strategy of superficially treating dry skin by splattering emulsions, oil and water and wax and silicone emulsions on the skin doesn't work. And of course, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. If you don't want to have dry skin, you've got to treat your skin differently than you're treating it now if you have dry skin. And mostly that means addressing internal causes, digestive problems, metabolic syndrome, hypothyroidism, using nutrition as well as food strategies.
How did you say it? Heliophobia?
Fear of the sun.
Yes. Fear of the sun. I've had so many arguments with people about I read that certain sun blockers become
in response to the sun.
At a certain temperature.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? It's funny because there's a distinction that we don't often make between biochemistry and clinical chemistry. Clinical chemistry is the chemistry of the clinic. Biochemistry is the chemistry of your body, the chemistry of biology. Physicians, unfortunately, tend to be clinical chemists. Skincare professionals don't necessarily understand biochemistry. They understand clinical chemistry. So they talk in jargon, and they don't really understand what they're talking about when they talk about the chemistry of a sunscreen or a sun protective ingredient. If you understand the chemistry, you understand that it's a very unstable molecule by nature, and it can't help but break down and oxidize in response to solar rays. And of course, oxidation of a chemical on your skin is just as bad as oxidation of the skin, of fats in the skin or skin tissue. And this can create a serious problem. And like you say, I don't know necessarily that there's a definitive connection between aging or photo damage and sunscreen breakdown on the skin. But we do know that sunscreens will break down in the presence of ultraviolet radiation. And we also know that sunscreens are toxic. In fact, in Hawaii, you can't wear a sunscreen when you go to the beach or a chemical sunscreen when you go to the beach, because when you go into the water, it'll kill the coral. Of course, if it's going to kill the coral, what's it going to do for your skin?
Didn't know.
Yeah, they won't let you wear chemical sunscreens on the beach.
Incredible information. And so what's that difference again between biochemistry and
the clinical chemistry is the chemistry of statistics, of numbers, of test scores, of reference ranges. And healthcare professionals are good at that. They know how to read test scores. They know how to read reference ranges. They know how to read blood tests. That's great. But they don't understand necessarily biochemistry. That's not all physicians. A lot of physicians do understand biochemistry. A lot of physicians are very bright and understand biology and really dig deep into the research, but a lot of physicians don't. A lot of healthcare professionals, not just physicians, but a lot of healthcare professionals don't. They may be able to read test scores and see what's high and what's low, but that's different from what's actually happening inside the body in terms of the biochemical phenomena and in terms of the biological phenomena of that leads to health or disease. So, you got to be a little bit careful with making assessments based on clinical chemistry. I always go with biochemistry. And when I look at a molecule like a sunscreen as a biochemist or as a chemist, I can tell whether that molecule is going to be unstable, and I can tell whether it's going to break down in the presence of ultraviolet radiation, whether it's going to oxidize in the presence of ultraviolet radiation. And it's not a good idea to put oxidized skincare ingredients on your skin, whether they're oxidized in the product itself before you even put it on your skin. And many ingredients like oils, for example, are oxidized even before you put it on your skin, or whether it oxidizes on your skin in response to solar radiation.
What's your opinion on baby oil? People put a
You
lot
want
of
to
baby
burn?
oil sometimes
If
in
you
the
want to
skin.
burn, that's, yeah, if you
You
want
want
to
to burn?
burn, I don't know why. I remember when we were growing up, people would use baby oil because you would get, they
Yeah,
thought you would
right.
increase tanning, but I'm not sure why you would do that. Baby oil will burn your skin. Oil burns. And when it gets hot, would you put hot oil in your skin? Well, why would you put
Right,
why would you put oil in your
exactly.
skin and then go out in
I
the
would
sun?
fry yourself.
Right. Yeah, I don't know that people
Yeah.
still do that.
I just
Yeah, when we were
remember that
kids,
when I
baby
was
oil.
young, that we were kids, baby oil was a big thing. So yes, screenshot your screen right there if you'd like to check out Ben's website. The QR code will take you there. And yes, once again, tremendously fascinating information.
All right.
All right, Ben,
Good
that
to
was
talk to you.
outstanding.
Bye.
All right, everybody, we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.